What time is it? What time is it? What time is it? Showtime. It's the Apollo. What's going on, everybody? This is your boy, Dr. Will Rogers, a.k.a. Master Teacher 33. And tonight is Saturday night, July the 2nd, 2022. And the time is 8:40 Central. Let's jump right in, brothers and sisters. I want to reveal, explain, illuminate, and simplify what I call advanced spiritual science. So we're really getting into some of the deeper stuff. When we talk about deeper, which simply means actually simpler, when we really look at the cause behind what we want to call success. Meaning a lot of people that are successful, they can't tell you exactly how, because they don't really know themselves. They don't really know, because it does take some mentalism or some ability to kind of examine, okay, what was the keys, because we tell people what we do, but we don't tell people how we be. And so tonight we want to talk about how you be. In other words, what is the mental properties required for one to be able to align? Because you can't really, make and get and have, but what you can do is actually get in alignment with your assignment. And so tonight what we're talking about is what does that look like? What does that look like on paper when we look at what I call the network of laws? So there is a invisible network of laws that allow people to be capable of establishing or connecting with what we call charity. And then that drops down to all of the other 7 S's as we talk about, clarity, consciousness, competence, certainty, confidence, chemistry, and currency. But it all starts with the ability for you to connect with what we call, or what I call, charity, which is the ability for you to be able to actually over and understand what's called the rotating unconscious competence. So there is something that is deep down inside of each and every one of us, and it only pops up whenever you are in that situation that requires you to tap into that rotating unconscious competence. That is the thing that allows you to be competent, but very difficult to identify because it's usually something that is buried. In fact, most people can't even identify what makes them competent. If I was to ask you, in the areas that you are competent in, why are you so confident in that area? And most people would reply, because I'm good at what I do, that I'm proficient in that area. And that's what makes me competent. But that's not it. You see, success, when we look at it from a scientific perspective, from a neuroscientific perspective, when you look at the neuroscience, everything happens in your body on the ANS system. So that means that you're not making your heart beat. The heartbeat is being automatic. So there's something that's causing it to beat automatically, but that is a part of your autonomic nervous system. So you have an automatic or a atomic or an anatomy that's of success. This is the anatomy of success. So when you look at the anatomy of success, it's the same way that the nervous system works inside of the body. They all work the same. And the way that works is automatic. So success is not only difficult to explain, but it's also difficult to maintain because it's automatic. But because it's automatic, it's automatic. But we unfortunately try to break it down, like I talk about all the time with Samson. When he flew 1,000 Philistines, he didn't have a step-by-step system. He just followed the automatic unction of the spirit, and he picked up a jawbone of the donkey, and he slew 1,000 Philistines. So if Samson was given a seminar, his seminar would probably be like tonight's message. His seminar would probably be about 30 seconds long. And his seminar would start off by saying, I am Samson, Son of the Most High God, who follows the leading and guiding of the unction of the Ruach and the Pneuma. That's how I slew 1,000 Philistines with the jawbone of a donkey. And then he would drop the mic and exit the stage. And he would charge everybody $1,000 for that 30-second seminar. That's you. So this, brothers and sisters, is how a successful brain works. Unfortunately, successful people cannot explain it. Now, the only way I know it is because I had to break it down, because I had to explain it to myself. But I wanted to know, because remember, I'm a 33. So with 33s, we're different from most people because we need to know the details of the details of the details. So we over-explain stuff. And so we over go in, and then we over get out, and then we over-stimulate. We do everything excessive. So if we are bad, we are excessively bad. But if we're good, we are excessively good. So tonight I'm breaking down the backbone of necessity. The backbone of necessity. This is the backbone of success. This is the science of speech, which we're going to be breaking down even further in the pay-per-view series. That's, again, it's $49. As always, just go to the website and make the payment. We start part 1 tomorrow. So when you look at the science, this is called rotating unconscious competence. So rotating uncompetence or unconscious competence. Everybody on this call, the only way to be successful is to establish what is called unbroken attention. Now, the only people that are the best people for success are broken people. The people that are usually successful, that was the saying, it's, I can't remember if it was Les Brown. I heard somebody say that, broken people who come from broken, destroyed homes and backgrounds, they become successful. And then the children of successful people, they become broken. And the children of the broken people, they become successful. And then the children of successful people, they become broken. So I'm fortunate that I was broken. Because unfortunately, if you're not broken, you don't have a backbone. Backbones are forged in the fire. It is what it is. You take, and you can't make an affluent kid have a backbone. An affluent kid will always quit before a broken kid will. That's how I got to the boot camp. I was broken. Because every time I wanted to quit, my brother reminded me, you homeless. We joined the military because our own father didn't want us. Our mother's dead. Our brothers and sisters depending upon us. If we don't make it, as soon as me and my brother graduated, we moved both of our sisters and my younger brother up to San Diego with us. What if we would have failed? We can't fail. Success can only happen to broken people because they're the only people that got a backbone. Now, I'm not talking about none of this Harvard shit. I'm not talking about none of this, stuff that you find on the internet. I'm telling you the real secret to success. Because whenever the thought rotates back into my brain of going back to Egypt, unbroken attention. My children don't have it. Your children probably don't have it because they come from you. And you make sure that you provide, you're a good mother and a good father. Unfortunately, good mothers and good fathers, they make children with no backbones. Remember, I'm not talking about no made up shit. This is universal spiritual law. Unbroken attention. That's the only way to be successful. My attention cannot be broken when I lock in on something. I don't give a shit what happens. So nobody, if I latch on to the bone, nobody can pry my ass off of that until I'm dead. That's success. See, right now, you got options. So you can't be successful with options. If you got options, you can never be successful because there's always another option to find, to invest in Bitcoin or to go out and sell water systems. Water systems, like what's the name? But I'm talking about the ones I used to sell. The pipe dream ones that don't work. So let's break this down because, Doc, you're saying I know people who are successful that did not come from broken homes. So now I need to define the word success because obviously we thinking about, y'all think success has to do with houses and cars and stuff. And remember what I said at the beginning of the show and what I said at the beginning of every show. This is advanced spiritual science. This is living spirit being. That's success. I know a lot of people that are like Joe Bezos. If I talk to him, he's probably not successful. Elon Musk, he's probably not successful. They made contracts and they signed knowingly or unknowingly contracts with Lucine Farr. So they can't do what I do. They owe somebody. They signed a contract. They knees touched the dirt, and they pledged allegiance to another mother beat in exchange. See, I didn't do that. Nor will I do that because I came from the hood. So let me make sure you understand, because when you run up against somebody like me, you don't understand how our mind thinks. Because when you're talking to somebody from the hood, they already made up in their mind. They're not going back to the hood. Like when I was a cop, I knew if I was arresting somebody from the hood, I already knew that that person was prepared to fight for their life, not to go back to jail. So I knew that going in, I needed way more ammo, way more energy, way more backup. Because when I walked into prison, it took 5 men, grown, muscle-bound dudes, to take down a guy that was 5'3", 130 pounds. I was a part of the CERT team the whole time I was in. That was a cell extraction team. We would go into cells with dudes that were buck naked, full of Vaseline from head to toe, baby oil on the floor, on the walls, and on the ceiling. And when you go in and grab them, your hand just, it just slips off. As soon as your feet hit the cell, zoop, you can't stand up. So let me make sure you understand the mindset of somebody who from the hood. You see, we don't connect with people at their highest point. We connect with people at their lowest point. And now I'm talking about real success. Tonight's message should have gave my disclaimer and my warning at the beginning of the show, which is, if you're one of these Ebenezer Baptist folk, this is not a message for you. Now, in all honesty, I would rather have been born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I'm going to be honest. Even though I know that I will not have the ability to fight my way out of a wet paper bag because I come from affluence. I know my mom and daddy, they got the money to fight me or to get me out of a wet paper bag. I would rather depend upon and be hooked on mama's kitty. I'm going to be honest. I would rather have affluent parents. I would rather come from a middle-class home like we've established for where I call my Janai Alex. Why? Because I would rather come from an environment where I'm giving the tools because of modeled behavior, even though I'm devoid of what is called the backbone that's forged out of necessity. I don't think I would rather that the universe was set up because originally that was the plan. Because if you go back to the story, Adam and Eve, Adam and Lilith walked in the cool of the day. And it said they communicated nonstop with the Most High. And all they did was just, they was in constant communication. So our communication lines with the Most High was broken. Excuse me. So that is the title of today's message. The title of today's message is really living spirit beings. Bam. That's the secret sauce. If you're not a living spirit being, if you're not what I call a single standing column of ways that has been forged in the fire, your dog's not going to hunt. Why? Some shit's going to happen and you're going to tap out. There's a barrier to entry. And when your number is called, hopefully it's never called. But when your number is called, a lot of people will be like, well, the way my savings account is set up, I can't do that, Doc. I don't have one of those. Now, as I said before, I wish it wasn't so. I kind of wish this is because having my disposition is dangerous. Because I've been very, very fortunate. Because I should be dead or in jail, like at least about 20 times. I can just think of circumstances after circumstances after circumstances that I've put myself in bad situations purposely. Because remember, I had a death wish until I was at least about 30, where I purposely took on the biggest, the baddest, talk shit to everybody. Please punch me, please. I just would go, just do shit, just put myself in situations because I had this whole, I hate myself. Just like most people on this call. Now, remember, it's varied because what we talk about some shit that's deep. It only comes up, though, when your back is up against the wall and it requires a backbone and bam. But the backbone is forged in trauma. You know what I'm talking about. Y'all, some of you guys, y'all know what I'm talking about. You've been there and the shit got so bad, you just like it. I don't care anymore, man. Shit, I didn't ask for this anyway. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Stop playing. And what you're saying is not that you're saying that this is a trigger. You've been here before. You're tired of being here. You're sick and tired of coming back to this low vibrational place when you know you're better than this. But for some reason or another, you can't get past this. That's that rotating, unconscious incompetence. So what if you do what I did? I decided, remember, 25 years, my ex-wife wrote a journal, and I got 25 years of rotating incompetence. I'm talking down to a freaking hour. She was very detailed. I told her one of these days I'm going to have her on the show. She can break it down. You got to turn that into the book. Turn that into a book. She wrote down all my failures. Yeah, 25 years. That's a long time. 25 years of crashing and burning. Why? Rotating unconscious incompetence. So what happens when you come from an environment where it's not warm and fuzzy and mommy and daddy done hug you and buy you everything, and the worst thing that you got to do is, like I tell my bonus kids all the time, and I tell the wife all the time as well, I'm praying for them. I don't know what they're going to do if life throws them a curveball, because they have no practice hitting the curve. It's not their fault. It's just it's like going to play baseball and the pitcher throws the same pitch. Now he's gonna strike you out a few times, but after a while you gonna know that he keeps throwing the same pitch. It's like being in a fight like I did with bullies, and the bully, he throws the same punch or he does the same kick. After he beats you up 3 or 4 times, you're gonna figure out, okay, he always hit me with that right hand. So this time I'm gonna duck the right hand. Hit that fool in the gut. Or do like I did. Pick up a damn bat. Hit that Negro in the skull. So I figured out every time I got into a confrontation, I made sure that I fought on my grounds where I had an equalizer. That's what I used to call them back in the day. And that was a bottle, a bat, or a brick. So that made me equal. I was able to equalize the battle. So my backbone was forged in adversity. So out of necessity, I learned the secret to success. Why? I didn't have no safety net. So I live my life right now. I ain't got no safety net. My brothers and sisters, because when my mom died, remember, they were all scooped up by family members. But no one family member could take all of us. At that time, there was 9 of us because there was 13, but the other kids were older, so they was on their own already. My mom had 13 kids. That's a lot of kids. And so when she died, all of us that was kind of towards the back end, like me, well, my grandparents, everybody scooped up, but little badass Willie, nobody wanted to take me. They sent my black ass off to an orphanage home. Or a foster home, I guess is what you call it. And then that's when my backbone got forged, and I developed a technique called unbroken consciousness. Now, 1 out of 1,000 people have that ability. It's very rare to find someone that has the capacity to do what is called unbroken consciousness, because that's the only way to connect with the network of laws that activate the living spirit so that you become one with source. This is advanced spiritual science. Now remember, this is not really taught on a global scale because very few people come from a background that forges a backbone. So your background creates your backbone. That's why when I meet somebody with a bad background, I don't buy their rotating, unconscious incompetence. I know, like me, they are unconsciously incompetent. So what happens if they become consciously competent? Ooh-wee! How do you become consciously competent? You do what I do. What do? I don't allow no mother beat to break my attention. I have unbroken attention. Now, unbroken attention or an unbroken attention span, again, it is almost impossible for the human brain to actually establish an undivided, unbroken attention span. Now, remember, I have this out of my book, which is called the Ego's Workflow Management Tool. So my attention is broken down into 15 minutes. So every hour is like a day. So a day doesn't consist of 12 hours for me. A day for me is 1 hour. So 1 hour is like a day. So everything that everybody else do in one day, I do in 1 hour. And then I thought another day. And then I thought another day. So I'm able to do way more in one day because in one day I have 7, 8, sometimes 10, sometimes 12 days. So every day is 12 days for me because there's no such thing as time. Because time is a measuring device. Time is not like a instrument. So most people's attention span is not long enough. That's just human nature. So what I did was, if I have attention deficit disorder, I needed to increase my attention span. So how do you do that? Well, science tells us that the average healthy person, they said, attention span is no longer than an hour. Meaning, you can remember the first 10 minutes and the last 10 minutes. Everything in the middle, you're there, you're listening, but you don't remember. Like right now, you're going to remember what I said at the beginning of today's message, and you're going to remember the very end. But the middle, not so much. Unless you do what I do. So when I listen to people, I listen to them in 5-minute increments. Even though they're talking, but it's a mental trick that I do. So what I do is I understand that there is a process that everybody goes through when it comes to establishing your own personal attention span. Everybody's different. So you got to know what works for you. You got to do what works for you. For me, I have a very short attention span. So what I do is I'm able to change what the content means to me. That's how I'm able to pay attention. So I'm able to pay very, very close attention for long periods of time to the very small details because I latch on very intently for 5 minutes. And then what I do is I purposely make sure that I change positions. I do some type of potential physical effect. Now, it could be standing up. It could be clapping your hands. It could be like what I do, what I call a warrior breath, where I just. But if I'm in a crowd, if I'm at church, then the deep breathing into the nose, I'll either fake like I'm doing a yawn, and I'll act like I'm stretching, like, now, you know, because I don't want to draw a lot of attention. I can't make a lot of noise. So what I've done is I just broke up the monotony, if you want to use that term, and I create attention or content shock. So content shock has nothing to do with the content. It has to do with your strategy that allows you to embrace content. So the way that I keep myself tuned in and fresh is by making sure that I break up the content. The person is still talking, but just that little, if I'm in a space where I can stand, I'll stand up, stretch like at home, I'm working, but it's easy for me. Like right now I'm doing a show. If I just stood up right now, stretch, extend my hands to the sky, breathe into the nostrils, out through the nose, my whole body recalibrates, bam, I'm ready for another 5 minutes of total unmanipulated or undistracted attention. So now I'm not listening, I'm actually hearing. And I do that every hour. So I break it up into 5-minute increments that allows me to do what? To have unbroken attention. And then when I'm done for the day, or when I do that for like say 2 or 3 hours, what do? Well, workout time. That's why sometimes I work out 3 times a day. So I work out 3 times a day to maintain my focus during the day. Because when I work out, it's only like for 15 to 20 minutes. I never work out. I can't even do my own workout now for more than 15 minutes. Now, I used to do it for an hour. And then I couldn't really hold mass, and I found I was overtraining. But the intensity, because I get my heart rate up so high, that doing the workout, because again, if you're doing sprints, you got the treadmill on an incline of like 8, where you like running uphill, or if you got the just regular, but you got the speed on like 10 or 12. Again, if you got a treadmill, like go to the gym and put it on 10 or 12 and then jump on there and see if you can sprint. See how long you can stay on the treadmill at that speed. On average, it's 30 seconds. It's like running, half a lap around the track, 220. So that's what sprinters do. And then you do what? You rest for 30 seconds. And then you run for 30 seconds. Then you rest for 30 seconds. Then you run for 30 seconds. When you get to world class, you break it down to 15 seconds. So that's like running a 100-yard dash, 15 seconds. And then you do that you cannot do that longer than 20 minutes. If you can do it longer than 20 minutes, you're not running fast enough. That means your heart rate has got to go up high to like which doctors don't recommend your heart rate going over like about 160. Sometimes I get my heart rate up to about like 190. That's not recommended. That means your heart is beating 190 times a minute. My resting heart rate is about 60 to 62. So I'm almost doubling and adding another 20 beats to my heart rate. So I do that, and after that, then I get back on it, and my heart rate, and I'm sweating, usually for spine, it takes about an hour, maybe 2 hours to calm back down after that workout. By the time I calm down, time to do a workout again, get back up. Then I go back down, next time to do the workout again, and then I go back up. So what am I doing? That's the same thing that I did when I was in the hood. When you're in the hood, you can't relax. Excuse me? Why? Gunshots, somebody's house getting broken into, somebody calling you, girl, you ain't gonna believe what happened. He did what? Girl, you ain't gonna believe what he did. So when you're raised in the hood, those are the best people for success. So you should ask yourself, how come everybody in the hood then is not millionaires? Because they don't have the advanced science of living in the spirit instead of the flesh. So I'm a living spirit being. Because in the spirit realm, everything exists simultaneously. What that means is now I went from rotating unconscious incompetence. So I believe, because I was unconscious, number one, unconscious. Well, let's break down each of these words so that way you understand the secret, what is the secret to success. Because remember, poor people have something that rich people don't. If you are raised in an affluent environment, you don't have a rotating story. I have it. What is my story? Everybody's heard it. My mom died when I was 13. I moved to my biological father. My biological father said, nigga, we don't want you here. So I packed my shit up, put it in the pillowcase, and I walked across the street. We call it the bayou. Moved in, or at least that night, stayed with this lady. She's still out there. She's on Facebook. Her name is Emma Shorts. She still has a little church. She still got a house for the kids to this day. She got a little church in Richmond, Texas. Well, I got tired of fighting every night because there was other boys there. There was about 8. She had 3 boys of her own. And then there was about 8 other boys. Who was all packed in one room. There was 3 beds. A bunk bed and then one other bed. So every night we had to fight. And every night I slept on the top bunk. Because every night I came in and beat dudes that was way bigger than me. But I had an amulet. Or I had an equalizer. For some reason or other, they never figured it out. Thankfully. I was scared to death. All I know is I wasn't sleeping on the floor. Then I met this lady who was twice my age. She was like early 30s, and I was like 13 or 14. She used to see me walking and riding on my bike, but she felt sorry for me, so she took me in. Well, she was a prostitute. So you know what happens next. She taught me the game, at least the sexual game. And the shit just went downhill from there. Thankfully, no drugs and no real gangs. Because back then, niggas, we was riding bikes and stuff. We were still in CDs and hubcaps. It wasn't like it is today, thankfully. So what's the point? That's my rotating story. That story makes me money. Why? That story allows me to experience glory. Every time I get lazy, every time I start spending more money than I'm making, every time I get solved, every time I start hanging around with a bunch of people who come from affluent backgrounds. Now remember, it's not your fault if you ain't got no story. I wish to God my mom was still here. I wish my children could go out and see their grandma. I wish my biological father was still there, even though he wasn't really around, wasn't involved. I developed a relationship with him later on. Now my story gets worse, but we don't have time for me to go for my story. My point is that story rotates. Every time I start getting relaxed, every time I go hang out and rub elbows with people who go, every time I go, like we go like the house we're moving into and, the neighbors, and I talk to them and they're, hey, John, hey, how's it going, man? I bet you see the game last night? Oh, man, the game was great. Every time I get a little too affluent, my story rotates around and it reminds me, yo, don't forget where you came from. Because guess what? As soon as you forget, that's as soon as your ass is going back. So I have something mostly don't got. Most people don't have my story. So what happens if you grow up in an affluent environment and the worst thing you have to do is pick up the trash? When the shit is just saying what you got, you don't got a story. That's the difference between rich people and poor people. Rich people, they don't tell you this, they got a story. I've talked to a lot of rich people, and I was shocked to hear what drives them. See, I'm driven. And it's not by where it used to be when I was young, dumb, and stupid. I was driven by demons. I didn't understand the difference between being driven and being led. So now I'm no longer driven by demons. I'm led by angels. So I don't have to go all the way back to Egypt, because there's angels that pluck me on the shoulder and say, yo, homie, don't forget where you came from, because your ass might end up back in Egypt. And if I don't listen, they come back and again, hey, you reading your own press clippings. You reading all of those positive comments on TikTok. Go read some of the negative comments. Get your mojo back, bro. Brothers and sisters, I'm telling y'all, don't buy your own hype. Now, you got to hype yourself up. You just can't buy it. You sell your hype to other people. Don't sell it to yourself. You should be a rock star, but you shouldn't be your own fan. You should have fans. You shouldn't be a fan. So I'm a rock star, but I'm not a fan of myself, because I know me. I know that deep down inside, there's a bad dude in there, and I got everybody fooled. My job is to keep fooling everybody, to make them think, damn, Doc is a nice guy. Let's invite him over for dinner. That's my job. My job is to make you never think that I climbed through somebody's backyard with a ski mask on. My job is to make, no, Doc wouldn't do nothing like that. Praise Jesus. Okay, I got you. That's my job. But my job is not to forget I used to climb through backyards with ski masks on. Because that's my story. That's how I experienced glory. See, my backbone was forged in fire. Not in no damn country club playing golf. So I have no problem putting a gun into somebody's face, if I had to. But thankfully, I don't got to. But what's the point? The point is you got to have a backbone if you want to be successful. The only people that I know that are successful, they all got backbones. They just don't let you see their backbone. And then there are some people that are successful, they actually forgot where they came from. Those them bougie Negroes you see in Hollywood with the black boule. You know, those are all like the Kevin Hart's and the Will Smith and all of those guys. They actually forgot where they came from. That's why I have no problem listening to somebody like a Dame Dash or even a 50 Cent. Because they'll let you know if you run up on them at the wrong time. Even like Tyson was the dude in the airplane that kept bothering them. So Tyson had to put hands on him. That's a backbone. You see, brothers and sisters, if you do not have a backbone, then there's something that'll come along that'll make you go home. That means you're going to tap out. There is something that's going to be a barrier of entry for you. Now, it may not have came up yet, but that's going to be a barrier of entry. Now, if I can keep going after losing my 19-year-old daughter, doing this day before, the day of, the day after, was it hard? Yep. But was that going to be my barrier? Was that going to be the event that sent me back to Egypt? I don't think so, bro. Now, for everybody else, maybe that would have made you sit down, take some time off. You know, you got to go and, go through the 5 grieving steps and process. People with backbones, we don't need that. We can grieve while we grind. See, I have an unbroken attention span. Now, the problem is I have an unbroken attention span. I have a place that I go that is not benevolent, brothers and sisters. And old boy in Dallas, that happened the last time, and it could have went bad really quickly. By the grace of God, I'm still here. Because he took my money, my daughter's money, and it was a nice chunk of change, and he went and got married, and he didn't do the work. And he had been doing that to people for 20 years. I was cool until I found that out. After that, Sister Kiwata, it wasn't good. I had already got my ammo and everything lined up. If he hadn't called and gave us our money back, I don't know what would happen. I just knew it wouldn't have been good because I'd already made up my mind. I'd already visualized it. I'd already planned it out. It had already happened in my head. That's a backbone. Now, I don't recommend you get one of those because if you get one, then you can't lose it. See, when you go that low, you can go that high. So when you see people, and this is the hardest thing that people have to understand. When y'all see people standing on the top, y'all got to remember that they came from the bottom. Whatever degree that the pendulum swings to the left, that determines the degree that the pendulum swings to the right. So y'all better remember every time y'all see somebody who's at the top, you got to remember that they used to be at the bottom, and they ain't willing to go back. Excuse me. So before you try to take their stuff or con them or manipulate them, you might want to remind yourself, they're all small, they got their nice suit on. Oh, they clean up nice. But unless they come from what I call generational wealth, that's a whole nother study. So a lot of Caucasians, they come from generational money. So generational wealth comes with a generational curse and generational trauma. That's a whole other topic for another time that we have to break down so you can understand that sometimes you see people with money and they telling you how they got money, but they don't tell you the cause that keeps them on that track for them to get money. Generational money is just assets, what we call assets, wealth that's passed down. But it's passed down through a familiar spirit, what I call a family life. Now, generational wealth, man, the kids that receive generational wealth, they also receive the generational curse that comes with that generational wealth. Because, like the Bible says, money easily attained is easily drained. That means easy come, easy go. But when you do like I do, when you bootstrap your way up from the top, from the bottom, and you fight nickel and dime to get yourself to a space where you are at, you're not willing to just blow your money. So how do you get out of the hood? Well, number one, the only way to get out of the hood is you got to be on, like I have a rotation diet. I have a rotation lifestyle. Everything I do is on a rotation. I have what's called a rotational, I'm going to use the word kinetic. Because energy cannot be destroyed. It cannot be created. Energy is inherent. But energy rotates around an axis. Y'all ever heard the term axis of evil? I think it was Bush 1 or 2. One of them said axis of evil. So what they was talking about, they're talking about the axis of a rotational force or torque. In other words, it's a force that is created by the axis of the rotation. It simply means that your circle that you have, it rotates. And the way that it rotates is because of the axis. It says the earth is tilted on a certain axis. Now the word axis is really access. So the difference between over and understanding that everything starts with this. Now remember, this is not something that you have no control over this. You just got to be aware of it. So number one, there is a rotating axis, but the word axis, A-X-I-S, is code for the word A for access, A-C-C-E-S-S. So I rotate because I have access. That's how you got to do it. Now, this is why rich people can explain to you, they can explain to you what they do. But, okay, what causes Elon Musk to sleep on the floor of his factory? They said that, especially back in the early days, I don't know if he does it now, but they said that, in his early days, that he would sleep on the floor inside of his own factories. And if you go back and you look at Elon Musk's story, it said he was raised in South Africa. And they said that he was raised during the time of really, really bad apartheid. And his parents were divorced. And Elon Musk supposedly lived with his father. Long story short, Elon Musk forged a backbone. I've known no wealthy person. We're not talking about generational wealth that did not come from a very rough background. Because your background builds your backbone. The key to wealth is your backbone. Because if you got a backbone, guess what? No matter what happens when the shit hits the fan, you got a backbone. You need money. It's do or die. Simplify. So that creates something called unbroken attention, which allows me to operate according to the universal spiritual laws. That gives me an advanced spiritual sense that I'm a living spirit being. So I know that even though I'm not comparing myself to somebody like an Elon Musk, because a lot of those guys are, puppets, if you will, and they are funded, kind of like your boy Zuckerberg. Was he really? Now, the story says, yeah, it was rough beginning, small time, but, really, he fought a CIA operative. Another study for another time. So we're not talking about those people. We're talking about real life people like me and you. So, number one, you need access. Now, what do you need access to? Well, remember, all people who come from the hood and make it, they have a rotating story. Their rotating story allows them to experience glory. That story is rotating. But if that was the case, everybody in the hood would be rich. But the reason why people in the hood can't get out of the hood because they have a rotating unconscious incompetence. So we just broke down the word rotating. It simply means access of evil or access of good. The access is determined by your axis, A-X-I-S, of access. Access to what? Well, access to consciousness. Because the problem is unconsciousness. So access plus consciousness. So my life did not change. I had access. Access simply means that I wanted something more than what I had. So what did I do? I started reading magazines. I started hanging out with different people. I wanted to change my life, but I had no consciousness. I had no awareness. I had no perception. So even though I had access, that means I noticed I needed to enter or to obtain or to retrieve different information. I wasn't able to get use of something because I didn't know what I needed to use. So I had no identity. So my problem was I was still accessing a unconscious, incompetent. See, so that's why I stayed incompetent. I had the formula, but it was a rotating unconscious incompetence. Everybody, probably, you're just rotating the same unconscious incompetence. That's why you stay in what I call Groundhog's Day. So Groundhog's Day means you got a good heart. You know something's wrong. You listen to me, and you listen to, a bunch of other people. You read a bunch of other books. And so, unfortunately, that's called spiritual adultery. Now, spiritual adultery means you're cheating on your spirit with another spirit. I was doing the same thing. I used to listen to Tony Robbins, T.D. Jakes, Creflo Dollar, Joel Osteen. But I listened to Joel Osteen's daddy before he passed away. That's all, that was way, way back in the day. I would listen to, John Avanzini, Oral Roberts, and, the list goes on and on. I was an old school guy. But I was religious. But it was kind of like white folks, middle America, Oklahoma, Bible Belt, rich. Spirit. I wasn't like, apostolic or, Church of God in Christ, black folks, gospel. Either way, I was still gone. So I was what? I was unconscious. So I had a rotating, unconscious, incompetent. How do I know that I was incompetent? Because the whole time I was a licensed, ordained preacher, and I had a family, and all that stuff, I had problems. What are problems? No peace. Remember, problems and success, problems is lack of peace. Success is peace. Now, you can have a lot of peace working at McDonald's, flipping the French fries, if you can pay your bills. So if you add up all your bills, if you live in government housing, and you get stamps and and all your bills, you add them up and they come out to $100. You work at McDonald's and you make it $200. That's rich. Now from there you can bootstrap your way up. That's what I did. I started at the bottom. So what does that mean? That means I'm able to connect. Remember, you don't connect with people at their highest point. You connect with people at their lowest point. Even when I'm at my highest, the reason why you guys are on this call, because we all have similar low points. Nobody can connect with me unless they are the vibration equivalent of me. Regardless, we could all be billionaires, but we all started off at Podon. And because we got that same demon trapped in the basement, game recognizes game. So even though we don't say it to each other, we both know each other. Everybody on this call, we are all, I mean, like the word, previously incarcerated individuals. But we are all previously spiritually incarcerated. Otherwise, you can't listen to me. Because my story doesn't make sense. I have a rotating story. Remember, why am I successful? Because that in the back of my brain, there's a story that I just told you guys. It never goes away. It's always playing in the back of my head. That story is my backbone. Without that, I would be working somewhere else. Without that, I would not be in the position that I'm in right now. Without that, I would need a safety net because I was raised with a safety net. Now, my brothers and sisters, they all are 9-to-5ers. None of them are in business. None of them are entrepreneurs. None of them do what I do. Even though we was raised the same. But remember, when my mom died, they went to a safe place. My grandmother took care of them, fed them. They had their own room. They slept in the bed. Remember, I did not sleep in the bed until I was 21. I've never slept in the bed. Even when I got married in my second marriage, I slept on the floor sometimes I would sleep underneath the table downstairs. My wife thought I was crazy. She probably still think I'm crazy though. No, don't be shaking your head over there. But what's the point? The point is the story. So I can never be broke. Why? My backbone. My backbone doesn't allow me to be broke. Because my back was forged in the fire. I just automatically fight. Whatever things I have, and people ask me, damn, even the wife would notice, my attention is gone. And she'll ask, oh, is everything all right? What's going on? I have unbroken attention. It happens automatically. I don't even notice sometimes. I just notice my head is down and my foot's to the pedal. Automatically. My brain just said, let's go. My spirit man just said, let's go. And I don't even notice this until one of my kids will say, oh, Dad, I see you back at it. Because they say, we haven't heard from you in a while. You haven't called us. You haven't texted us. You haven't did this. You haven't done that. My brain automatically knows it's grind time. Let's go. So I don't need no reverend, no doctor, no bishop. I don't need nobody to call me. The shit's forged in my DNA. That's success. Success is not something that you buy and read. Successful people have a built-in, let's go get it system that was forged in poverty and pain. So if you didn't come up the way I did, what I'm saying is Greek to you. You're like, what the hell is Doc talking about tonight? I thought the nigga said the shit was about advanced spiritual science. That's advanced. Poverty is advanced spiritual science, boo. Getting your ass whooped every day. Failure. That's you guaranteed to success. See, when you fail enough times, guess what happens? You say, I don't, fuck that. I ain't doing that no more. Some of y'all ain't there yet. You got to keep failing a few more times. But trust and believe, boo, you're going to get to a point in your life and you're going to say, you know what? Shit, enough is enough. I'm going to figure this shit out. And then from that day on, ain't nobody got to motivate you. Ain't nobody call you and say, hey, did you do a video today? You're going to have an internal alarm clock that's going to say, I don't know what y'all doing, but as for me, myself, and I, we grinding. That is a rotating conscious competence. It just rotates automatically. I have an automatic success system. The same way your body works, that's the same way your money should work. Did you got a monitor that tells your heart, hey, heart, let's go get them? I don't think so. Well, why not? Well, you have an automatic nervous system. Now, you got your CNS, too. You got your central nervous system. But your automatic nervous system, how does it work? Do you guys know that really, truly, honestly, money works the same way? In other words, money is there's a network of nerves that control the manifestation, the process of you making money. The only thing that you haven't done yet is consciously establish a rate or a pattern that regulates automatically your monetary functions the same way your body automatically regulates your heart rate, your digestive system, your respiratory system, your sympathetic nervous system, your paranervous system, and all of the 12, some say 10 systems of the body. Shit works automatically. So your money should work automatically too. Your wisdom should work automatically. Your relationships should work automatically. Which one did I leave out? Your health should work automatically. Everything should be on an automatic, rotating, conscious competency. And poverty simply means your attention span is broken. So the key to success is an unbroken attention span. Now, I'm not talking about where you just sit there and stare at something. I'm talking about that your body is regulated because it has an integrated atomic system that is built upon a spontaneous movement that is a result of, number one, your access. Access simply means you give yourself permission to focus on yourself. That comes automatically when you're in the hood. What does that mean? In the hood, you will get your ass whooped if you just walk around clueless. Just, if you don't believe me, you can go to any hood in America. You want to, if you I'll be coming here to San Antonio. I take you over to the east side. We just drop you off and just get out your car and just walk around. Take you over to the place called Wheatley Courts. I give you about about 10 minutes, walk around Wheatley Courts, about 5 minutes. Because they're going to look at you and say, hey, man, who's that dude? Because everybody knows everybody over there. And if they see you, you ain't from that hood, I give you 5 minutes, you're going to get shot, robbed, beat, raped. It ain't going to be good. Why? They know you don't belong in that hood. Now, if you're from Wheatley Courts, and they see you walking around, as long as you're on your territory, you're good. But if you walk into a rival gang member's territory, or you ride the wrong colors, or if you're just out at 2, 3 in the morning, like my grandma used to tell me, nothing good happens at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's why you don't see me out at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's amazing. You know, bad stuff happens to people now, and the first thing I ask them, what time was it, and where was you at? Why? because I don't ask for bad stuff to happen to me. Even if it's an emergency, it'd have to be an emergency for me to drive. And I live over in the nice side of town, but I'm still black. So I know if I go out after 2 a.m. in my vet and I'm a black man, I know I'm going to get pulled over for driving while I'm black. And they say, hey, boy, you know where you at? And I got to go through my whole copy thing, let them know I'm not the one. And what is the point? I'm conscious, though. So that's why I don't go. So there's a lot of you guys, you're not conscious. Because I can care because you're doing stuff that only an unconscious person would do. So number one, you got to get access to yourself. When you get access to yourself, you get conscious of yourself. So you don't put yourself in situations where yourself cannot be successful. Why would I do that? Why would I normally take a job working in the warehouse like I used to do when I was young, dumb, and stupid? When I am a creative communicator, and I'm very passionate, we call it compassion. The word compassion means come, pass, I, on. That's a 33. If you are a 33, you are here to pass your love on to other people. That's your job. You got one job. If you are a 33, look at the word compassion. And you're going to see the word C-O-M, the E is solid. P-A-S, the letter I, that's your third I, on. That's why God put you on the planet. You're supposed to pass your third eye on to everybody else. That's why you got a heart of gold, and that's why you love everybody. Now, you don't want to do it, but you are led by the Ruach and the Pneuma. You get an unction to go do this, to go do that. And you feel like you're getting conned. You feel like you're getting took because that's your backbone telling you, because when you was in the hood, you got took, but you're in the spirit realm now. So you can't get took in the spirit. Why? Because there is no flesh in the spirit realm. Even when you're helping people in the flesh, when you are in the spirit, your reward doesn't come from the flesh realm, it comes from the spirit realm. So even if I help you, source code is going to help me. Because I am a living spirit being. That just simply means that I am one with source. I'm a single standing column of waves. I'm a network of spiritual laws. I'm operating in an advanced spiritual science state. I am a rotating, conscious now, competent being. That is the cause of what you call money. Money will run from you even if you are from the hood and you got a backbone out of necessity. The fact that you got a backbone forged out of necessity simply means that now you have a rotating story that is unconsciously making you incompetent because you're bonded with the trauma and the drama. You haven't transmuted that trauma in your drama. So your job and my job is to get you to transmute your problem into a product. So you take your trauma, you take your drama, and the fact that you are still alive means, just like me, I have something that nobody else got. I have a rotating, trauma-induced mind control story. So now all I do is go back to my story, and I tell it without the pain. I tell it from a place of pleasure, from a place of profit, from a place of a product. So now my story of not having a place of my own, not having, a mother and father when I needed them during my formidable years, really from middle school to high school. Not having them, I didn't have an identity. Now I do identity reports. So now I took my problem and I turned it into my product. I took my most pressing problem, which was I was a man that I could not identify with my mom. She wasn't around long enough. I couldn't identify with my father. I stayed there for 6 months and then I left. He was not a part of my life until I went to the military, got married, and had a bunch of kids, and I came back to let the kids see their granddad. Because I wanted my kids to know. And then in that time, I started like, well, I started forgiving him. And I said, you know what? Shit, I started listening to a little bit of his story, talking to my sisters, and I'm like, damn, his life was like mine. So no wonder he was like that. Because now I'm a father. So now my story became my glory. And now my mess became my message. And my testimony became my test before my money. So you take your test. If anybody want to get your cash is in your past. So if you don't want to talk about your past, you're not going to get no cash. At least the automatic way. Now, that means you got to work. You got to come up with a story now. You got to con me. You got to trick me. You got to have a clever marketing campaign. You need a Facebook algorithm now. You need some marketing. You need a fancy website. You need all this stuff. You just can't go and just go on Facebook and do a Facebook Live and people send you money. Why? Because you can't reach me, bro. Your story doesn't touch me because it doesn't have no tone in it. Ain't no pain in your story, man. You tell me you come from, Lily White, Joel Osteen, you grew up with, picket house, 2 dogs, and you went to a golf course every day. You went to a private school, then you went to Harvard, and then you went to Yale, and now, you working over here at corporate America starting out. That shit doesn't, that's not my story, bro. Next, it doesn't relate. Now to other people they relate. Because they have the demographics. My demographics, we all have the similar. Now maybe your pain, your story, because remember pain, gain, whatever degree that the foundation goes down, that is the degree that the building goes up. Some of y'all foundation went really, really deep down. But your building hasn't went up. Why? Because you are not rotating your unconscious story consciously. Go back. Tell your story with a conscious glory. Stop telling your story with the unconscious pain. Tell the story with the conscious gain. Meaning, start off with the pain and give me all the dirt. Why? That's how I relate. That's how you connect with people. Go out and tell me all the bad stuff. But then don't end right there. After you tell me the bad stuff, now you got me. I'm emotionally invested now. So the movie shouldn't end right there. I'm right there, and the movie ends like, then you start reading the credits. I'm like, oh, no, what happened? You got me on the edge of my seat. I got the popcorn. I'm watching the movie, and then you just roll the credits. Or I'm on the edge of the seat. You tell me how you overcame and become victorious, and I'm excited and I'm happy for you. I want to pay you, but there's no payment method. You don't click the link in the bio. I want to pay you, but you don't tell me how. You told me your pain. You told me how you overcame it, and you gave me all the steps, and then now I want to help. I want to invest in you. I want to buy your product, your services, your information. But you ain't got no product. You don't even got a GoFundMe page that I highly don't recommend, but damn, something. You got to have me. You cannot tell a story and don't allow me to participate in your glory. Because then you deny me my blessing. Brothers and sisters, give and share. I want to give. I know God's going to bless me when I give. So I have no problem giving. Because I know I don't expect the blessing to come from you. I'm not giving to you for you to give back to me. I'm giving to you and so it's going to bless me. My blessing flows all day, every day, from many different directions for eternity. Because I'm a single standing column of waves that has chosen to form in this dimension. I chose to manifest on this dimension. Now I'm quantum jumping to the next. That simply means that I'm going to go to the next level. What does that mean? That just simply means that you get to choose what level you want to exist on. You can exist on $100,000. You can exist on $200,000. You can exist at, 150 pounds. You can exist at 200 pounds. You can exist with a college degree. You can exist without a college degree. You can exist married or you can exist single. You get to select your timeline that you want to live out your life. Now, you can't make nobody else. You can, but that's called witchcraft. You can con and trick and manipulate other people to live on your timeline. But you might want to ask them first and say, hey, I am wealthy, healthy, wise, and I like to get my toes cut. And they say, oh, really? Man, I am wealthy, healthy, wise, and I like to get my toes curled too. So since we go in the same direction, hell, we can go together. That's a relationship. A relationship is two people who come together. Both parties are going in the same direction, operating on the same foot. Now, does that mean that they're doing the exact same thing? Hell no. That just simply means that you got your purpose and your destiny. I got my purpose. Now, the vision should correlate. That means there should be some what they call points of connectivity. The more points of connectivity, the better. Why? That means that the relationship can overstand and overcome adversity. Because why? Y'all together. You got more, let's say there's 10. Well, maybe you got 8 out of the 10 points. If you got 10 out of 10, hey, that's awesome. What if you got 3 out of 10? Oh, shit, it's not that it can't be done. You got to have a lot of understanding. That means that you got to have a lot of grace with each other, and don't try to control other people. Like my wife goes to church, I don't. But that is not something that we sit in, argue and bicker and debate over. So there's nothing wrong with having two parties come together and talk and agree to disagree. Your job is to do what? Your job is to make sure that your rotating conscious is competent. What if you're rotating a conscious story that's not competent? Oh, snap. That's the second reason why people are poor. You got access. That means you're moving. What did you do? You access your own identity. Now, all them demons that you put in your body from your food and from what you watch on TV, there's more of you than them. That simply means that there's more me than there is of my negativity. So what do I do with the negativity? I perform an exorcism by exercise. And then I remove the nucleus by detox. So I removed the dispositions out of my body so that way they don't do a hostile takeover and I'm walking around possessed. You say, damn, that's actually kind of strange. He's snapping at people, is this, that, and other? That's because I didn't perform an exorcism on myself. So that means I don't have access to myself. That means I'm not conscious. That means I am incompetent. That's Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day simply means that the person you talk to, they're at home. Their flesh is there. But the Bible says, you're not supposed to walk in the flesh. You're supposed to walk in the spirit. So the only way that you can be a living spirit being is if you are in the spirit. So it's the lust of the flesh, the pride of life, the care of this world. Advanced spirit science is what we're talking about. So tomorrow, cost is $49. We start a new series as we talked about and introduced today and introduce it again tonight. We will continue with number 1, what we call auditory, which leads to number 2, production, which leads to number 3, transmission, which leads to number 4, reception, which leads to number 5, analyzation, which leads to number 6, classification, which leads to number 7, transcription. Whatever you transcribe, that's how you thrive. We break it down tomorrow. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. I'm going to see y'all tomorrow. God bless.